What actually happens when a leader's actions are driven not by service, but by their own pride?
So, to really get a handle on Jezebel's dramatic fall, we first have to understand the incredible power she had. The story doesn't paint her as some minor character. She was a truly formidable figure.
And let's be clear, the source tells us Jezebel was no fool. And why would she be? She was a Phoenician princess, raised in a culture of immense wealth and political savvy. So when she showed up in Israel, she wasn't just another queen. She was a political powerhouse. She was smart, super influential, and she held real, actual power. All the things you'd want in a great leader, right? But it's what she did with those gifts that seals her fate.
And this is where the story takes a really dark turn. It wasn't about the power she had, but how she chose to use it. And her main goal was pretty simple: absolute control. So what did that look like in practice? Well, think about her background. Her goal wasn't just personal power, it was a complete cultural takeover. The source paints this vivid picture of her systematically tearing down Israel's faith. She brought in her own gods, she bankrolled her own prophets, and anyone who dared to speak out against her, they were silenced, aggressively. She even manipulated her own husband, King Ahab, basically turning him into a puppet to reshape the entire nation in her own image.
So you have to ask, what was the engine driving all of this? This wasn't some show of genuine strength. At its very core, the real motivation for all this destruction was just unchecked pride.
And that leads to this really powerful conclusion in the text. It's a chilling reminder that this kind of power, when it's just left to run wild, becomes a destructive force. It doesn't just harm the innocent people in its way, it ultimately destroys the person who's wielding it.
Now, if you want to see this principle in action, the source gives us one specific, dramatic story that basically sums up her entire character. And that's the story of Naboth's vineyard.
Okay, let's break this down, because it's just a masterclass in being ruthless. It starts off simple enough. The king wants a piece of land that belongs to this regular guy named Naboth. When the king can't get it, Jezebel steps in. She cooks up this wicked scheme, using her power to spread lies and totally manipulate the legal system. And the result? Naboth is falsely accused of treason and put to death. And just like that, the king gets his vineyard. An act of that much cruelty? Well, it couldn't go unanswered. This whole vineyard scheme set in motion the events that would lead to the story's climax: Jezebel's final and very sudden fall from power.
Now, here's something really crucial that the source emphasizes. This wasn't some immediate, out-of-the-blue punishment. There were off-ramps, prophets showed up, clear warnings were given. She had multiple chances to change her ways, to just turn back.
And what was her response? Total refusal. She just doubled down, ignored every warning, and refused to listen to any voice but her own. Her pride just wouldn't let her be corrected. Her defiance leads to this one unavoidable truth from the source material. See, the outcome isn't really framed as just a punishment, but more like a natural consequence. In this story, justice is what inevitably shows up when arrogance is on the scene. And when the end finally came, it was exactly as the prophets had warned. The source describes her downfall as swift, shocking, and absolute. There was no negotiation, no last-minute plea. Her reign was just over. So this is more than just an ancient story, The source frames this whole narrative as something bigger. It's meant to be a timeless and deeply personal warning about the nature of pride. So here's the key takeaway. The real danger wasn't just Jezebel's actions, bad as they were. It was the state of her heart that produced them. Her story is a huge warning about what happens when a heart becomes so hard with pride that it just can't accept correction anymore. And this whole idea is summed up perfectly with one last theological point from the source. It presents this really stark contrast. A posture of pride is met with resistance, while a posture of humility is met with grace. And this is where the lesson comes right back to us. The source doesn't just leave this as a history lesson, it throws a direct challenge our way, asking us to think about our own lives. How do we handle the influence we have, whether it's big or small? Do we choose to be humble? Or do we find ourselves trying to control other people just to protect our own ego? And that leaves us with one final powerful question. It's the ultimate takeaway from the rise and fall of Jezebel. In the end, it really all comes down to a choice between two paths: pride or humility. So the question is, how will you use your influence?
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.